That was really the Biden setup. That was not our setup.
We were here around the table when Hurricane Helene struck, and I did not hear Jesse Waters, who I'm thrilled is back around the table.
Are you investigating whether some of the cuts to the federal government left key vacancies at the National Weather Service or the Emergency Coordination?
No,
they did not.
They did. I'll tell you, if you look at that water situation that all is, and
saying that Donald Trump should stop spreading lies about the Biden administration and the FEMA fund.
Incredible success? That's what Trump called his response to the Texas floods. But here's the grim twist. Over 100 lives lost, chaos in disaster relief, and now even a Fox News host isn't buying it. So, what really happened? And why is Trump blaming everyone but himself?
This is one of the more devastating stories that I think we've had to cover as a mother of two daughters that are going to go to camp at some point. I cannot even imagine what that feels like. I've been reading.
I wouldn't, people are trying to blame the school. They're trying to blame the camp. They're trying to blame. It's just a horrible thing. But
the testimonials, especially about the fathers and grandfathers that are walking around that camp looking for a thermos with their kid's name on it.
Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
And I'm sorry for any hurt that any comments about this tragedy has caused these families, or some sign that they were there. Maybe they find a body of another camper, maybe they find their own child or grandchild. Unimaginable. I'm so sorry for them. I don't think that talking about preparedness or what might have helped qualifies as impugning the memory of those that have been lost or detracting.
Trump didn't just call his response to the Texas floods a success. He called it incredible. He claimed lives were saved, communities were protected, and the government delivered, as if it were his personal masterpiece. Classic Trump, right? Taking a whole disaster and trying to slap his brand on it like it's a steak or a bottle of overpriced water. But this isn't steak, and the aftermath wasn't a 5-star meal. Instead, it was more like raw leftovers, and people paid the price. Let's start with the numbers he's so good at ignoring. Over 100 people dead, and officials scrambling to respond in chaos. FEMA, the agency meant to lead these efforts, was stretched so thin they looked like the waistband on Trump's favorite golf pants.
They're giving your FEMA dollars to illegals. They're housing them with your FEMA dollars. Then he said you're only going to get $750 from FEMA, which was a complete lie. And there are Republican officials who have testified to the fact that people did not get their FEMA assistance because of what Trump and other Republicans were saying. Thoughtful conversation that needs to take place because this river has been flooding for a very long time. There are a number of instances in this. And we were here around the table when Hurricane Helene struck. And you also don't need to trust or go to Democrats to politicize it. You can look at this GOP state rep, Wes Verdell, who said that he would have voted differently on a bill that was before the House last year. I think it was House Bill number 13.
This wasn't a sudden accident either. Between staff shortages, inadequate training, and cuts that left entire teams in shambles, FEMA might as well have been trying to juggle chainsaws blindfolded. And it wasn't just FEMA, because when disaster strikes, you need preparation like, accurate weather warnings. But with the National Weather Service dealing with frozen budgets and unfilled roles, Texas was no better equipped than a Floridian trying to shovel snow. Imagine you're fighting a fire, but your extinguisher is empty. That's the level of incredible Trump delivered to Texas. NOAA's weather programs were cut under his administration. Agencies weren't communicating properly, and early warnings came too late. And in the middle of it all, Trump praising himself like he just scored a touchdown. Give him a mirror and a mic, and he'll call himself MVP before the game even starts. It's convenient for Trump to call this chaos a victory because it lets him spin failure into a win. But if this was such an incredible success, why did so many people in Texas feel abandoned? Trump's argument falls apart the second you stop staring at the buzzwords and look at the headlines. shortages, budget cuts, and lives lost. But here's where it gets even more interesting, because those cracks in Trump's story were exposed not by a political opponent, but by someone he probably thought was in his corner. Yep, Fox News entered the chat. Even Fox News couldn't save Trump from this one. During a live broadcast, Jessica Tarlov stepped up and did something you rarely see on that network. She called out Trump. You could almost hear the pearl clutching in the studio. Now, Fox News is usually Trump's safety blanket. He can count on them to cheer him on, no matter what nonsense spills out of his mouth. But this time, Tarlov ditched the pom-poms and went straight for the facts, and Trump wasn't ready. Tarlov didn't ease into it. She went straight for Trump's talking points about FEMA, pointing out his claims about funds being redirected to house migrants. Spoiler alert, it wasn't true. FEMA's budget hadn't been hijacked to build makeshift border hotels. But that didn't stop Trump from throwing it into his overused blame machine. She also tackled the ridiculous $750 aid figure he tossed around like it was some huge win. According to Tarlov, that claim didn't hold water either. Much like Texas's disaster prep during the flood. She wasn't there to coddle him. She was there to fact-check him. On live TV, his reaction? Classic Trump. He whipped up a big pot of finger-pointing, dumping the blame onto Biden, FEMA, state leaders, and probably the guy who invented rain. If you've ever caught a kid blatantly copying homework and watched their excuses get weirder by the second, you've already seen this scene play out. It's Biden's fault. No, wait, it's the Democrats. Actually, it's probably the media conspiring against me. Trump tried every trick he had, but none of it stuck. And here's the kicker. This wasn't MSNBC or CNN. This was Fox. For Tarlov to drop all of that on air, it showed just how flimsy Trump's whole incredible success narrative really was. The flood response wasn't some political inconvenience. It was a disaster with over 100 lives lost. Tarlov exposed the cracks in his claims, leaving Trump to scramble and deflect, live and unscripted. The moment Fox lets the truth slip, you know Trump's spin is starting to wobble. Misinformation isn't just a political game. It has real consequences, and the Texas floods prove that. Trump's false claims about FEMA funds being used for migrants didn't just create confusion, they disrupted relief efforts and left people questioning critical aid programs. Add that to GOP lawmakers rejecting $54 billion in disaster resilience funding, and it's no wonder Texas wasn't ready. Disasters like floods don't care about party lines, but leaders should. Instead, people suffered while Trump praised himself. Even Fox News couldn't ignore the cracks in his story. If they're asking questions, shouldn't the rest of us be too?